The dark feminine is feared, and understandably so, because she's power. Within the dark feminine is all of our primal power. If you think about the void and the gestation period of winter, there's this growth and this fertile energy that then blossoms and takes root and shall we say flourishes during the spring and the summer. And in this autumn time, we're kind of heading into the dark. We're heading into the dark feminine energy of compost and renewal and planting seeds. So we've just had the autumn equinox, which in the northern hemisphere is that turning towards the dark. The sun is going to wane now until its return. The summer solstice, its peak energy. So yeah, we're at a turning point, and not only at the turning point in the season, but also a turning point in terms of the eclipse, which is really powerful. Eclipse season. We had the full moon lunar eclipse last week, and then next week we have the new moon solar eclipse, which I'll speak into, but a little bit more about this dark feminine energy, because it's all prevalent around this time, whether seasonally, whether during this eclipse, and the new moon, and actually Navaratri, which is the Hindu 9-day festival celebrating the goddess Durga of power and protection and regeneration, which also takes in Kali, who is more better known as that dark destroyer of demons. So the dark feminine, again, I'll repeat, is understandably feared. And I have a great poem actually called Holy Woman, and it talks about how we've hidden her so deep that we fear her within. You know, even right back to the biblical times, when you think about Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and the birth of humanity. So the story goes is that Eve actually was the second woman, because first we had Lilith, which is like Black Moon Lilith, again the dark feminine, and she refused to submit. She was like, all right, Adam, yeah, we're in this Garden of Eden, I'm going to explore, I'm going to eat the apples, I'm going to play with the snakes, I'm going to do what I like, thank you very much. And so she was thrown out, banished to the dark, shall we say, and in her place, the story goes, Adam then cut Eve from his rib, like as a bit of him, like as a subordinate energy. And so almost the light feminine was then born and chosen to blossom under the power of the sun, under the power of the masculine. And so we have this distortion almost of expectant or toxic masculine and light feminine allowance, which is a power, but not when in shadow, and the dark feminine in the dark. So yeah, we have both light and dark masculine and feminine energies within us all, regardless of our gender. And that's not to say that they're shadows, actually, because outside of them are our shadows. Both the dark and light, masculine and feminine, are all empowered places, and ultimately we want to be able to sit in the center of them all and choose how we want to bring forward our energy in different situations and different relationships. And I really work with, especially in my level 1 signature course, Sovereign Being, I work with Dr. Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent, where you have axes of power, ultimately. The light masculine and dark feminine, and this polarity of attraction, the good guy and the bad girl, bad boy and the good girl. You know, we know these stories, but the light masculine service and the dark feminine acceptance, and the dark masculine taking and the light feminine allowing. And again, all of these are axes of power, but often we can get stuck in one quadrant, in our comfort zone, so to speak, in our pattern of control, in ways of being that we've learned how to get the love we feel is lacking. Excuse me. And then outside of them, shadow, the dark feminine, this sort of princess expectant energy of always wanting and kind of manipulating, working that erotic energy to just get what one feels is lacking, but there's it's never going to be fulfilled because it's searching from outside in. And the shadow of the light feminine, let's just work with the feminine here, the allowance and surrender, which is really such an empowered position to be in, to offer yourself as a gift. The shadow of that can be like a doormat, like the victim, without the balance of the masculine holding. So really, let's go back to the dark feminine. The dark feminine power is emotion and Eros. Whew. Just those two words hold such power, emotion and Eros. Emotions, acceptance, this axis of acceptance of the dark feminine. Do we fully allow ourselves to accept what we're feeling, what's going on within us? Or do we kind of go into bypass, stay in the light masculine, meditate it all away, refuse to accept, keep busy? Are we really able to fully accept ourselves, our difficulties, our feelings, and so on? Because when we accept ourselves, receptivity is simply receptivity. We're able to accept, receive all that life has to offer because we have the capacity. But again, it starts within ourselves. And again, erotic energy, the Eros of the dark feminine, of working with the womb and the pussy and the darker energies, it's power. However, are we using that to manipulate, to get people to do things for us? Men, if we're a woman and we're hetero, or in same sex also, or are we working it in a way of self-love, harnessing our own pleasure for life-giving abundance, and for clearing out our traumas and so on. So the dark feminine is power, but to access her, we have to fully go into ourselves. We have to take the time to accept our feelings, be with them, the difficulties and the challenge, and actually ultimately alchemize that pain into pleasure. But the way out, as I always say, is through, to go into it. And to do that, ultimately, we need our own inner masculine, and beyond that, the trust in the divine masculine, in Shiva, to hold Shakti. And in tantric terms, Shiva is understood as corpse. There's a part that he's dead without the creative life force of Shakti. But Shakti and creation need something to hold her. And so we see this balance of this necessary relationship through all of life, within ourselves, and whatever is going on within ourselves reflected externally, which is quite a hard pill to swallow often. So the reason I wanted to bring through the dark feminine is this new moon solar eclipse we have next week. I think in the UK it lands on Wednesday. Our women's circle and exploration of this is going to be on the Tuesday evening. Eclipse portals are very much about our soul's journey and what we need to let go of. And this eclipse is moving into Libra, which is very much about relationships and about balance. And so again, we see where we need to balance the dark and the light, the masculine and feminine within ourselves. And in order to do that, once we've kind of gone through that, to work with the eclipse, it's like, what ways of thinking or being are our past pains that we need to acknowledge and accept, but then alchemize and let go of? So, like I said, this new moon is falling on Navaratri, the beginning of Navaratri, the 9-day worship of the goddess Durga, which is the goddess of power and protection. And she also manifested, she called on, created Kali, which is like depicted, she's depicted as this dark, like demon slayer with skulls all around her neck and her big tongue sticking out wild. But so the story goes in tantric circles is that Kali, she was created by Durga to slay the demons. And we can understand these demons as like our inner demons, which we all have. But because she had that dark feminine rage that is unbridled, actually, and that's why we fear it within culture, within ourselves so much, because it's pure primal creative power. It's the kundalini that's stirring within us all at this time. But in order for Kali and the dark feminine within ourselves to be empowered, shall we say, or managed or accessible without losing ourselves into her, we need Shiva, we need the masculine. And so the story goes that when Kali couldn't stop in her fit of rage of killing the demons, Durga called on Shiva to help bring Kali into consciousness. And Shiva just lay there with absolute presence with his big hard lingam, his wand of light, his cock. And Kali surrendered herself onto him in an act of sacred union. And as she did that, her pelvis relaxed, her point of power relaxed, it was held, and her tongue, her jaw relaxed. And so really this is what we want to aim to develop within ourselves, this ability to harness the masculine's presence and awareness and holding force, so that we can go fully into the dark, fully into our Eros and our emotions and our wild, sacred rage and abandonment, and that receptivity that comes from opening ourselves up fully. So we're in exciting, powerful, transformative times, and we're all going through it, really. It's a time of endings and beginnings, and really a time to stay steadfast or find that balance between accessing ourselves, accepting ourselves fully, and not getting lost in it, harnessing the presence of the masculine. I'll be offering a new moon, solar eclipse, mantra and tantra ritual to support us to explore this and drop into this. And it forms part of my private Facebook group for women, where we can continue that support and that sisterhood as we move through each month, each new moon and full moon. I really hope you will join us, and I really hope that you will allow yourself to dip deeper in to emotions and Eros, because there's rich, delicious power there waiting for you to court it. Sending you much love on this rainy autumnal day, and I hope to see you next Tuesday evening. I'll drop the Zoom registration link in the comments. With love.